Good evening, everyone. So, we have a very interesting panel lined up. It was 45 minutes. I think it's been reduced to 30. So, let's make the best use of it. And the topic is mid-market hospitality. This is so relevant and topical because in the last panel, we heard Mr. Kachru and the others also say that mid-market has the max market in India. So on this panel, I'm actually looking forward to hearing views from two top global brands in their relevant spaces, which is Wyndham and Ascott, and India's foremost leading mid-market and today upscale hotel brand, which is Lemon Tree Hotels, and in the domestic market, Treebo, which has expanded using a digital footprint massively, and also Clarks and Brij, which is showing a new way of accelerating growth across India, especially tier 2 and 3. But first, I want to start off with someone who and his family have had a ringside view to the entire evolution of the market in India with Jehangir. And Jehangir's firm, they've been in existence for the last 40 years. And I've also had the pleasure of doing 2 transactions with his respected late father in 2007 and 2008. And he carries forward that legacy. And I was chatting with Jehangir earlier to say what sort of work has the firm done over the last 2 years. So over 100 assignments in 2 years between transactions and advisories. Effectively, the run rate is like 1 assignment a week. That's brilliant pace. So Jehangir, this gives you a good ringside view of what's happening in the business. So I wanted to ask you, where do you see, what are the roadways, what are the big growth areas that you are seeing for this sector in India? And along with that, when you look at mid-market, the risk reward in mid-market, how does it compare to the risk reward, say, in budget economy or in upscale and luxury?
Thank you, Rahulji. I hope everyone can hear me. And of course, thank you for BWH IHA for organizing this great event, sir. Thanks, Rahulji, for that introduction. So yeah, we've looked at mid-scale hotels over the past, at least since I've been at work for the last 20 odd years. And of course, things have changed significantly. What we saw maybe 15, 20 years ago was a very different mid-market landscape to what we see today. I would say back maybe 15, 20 years ago, the rate delta between upscale or luxury hotels to budget mid-scale hotels was not very large. That's compression of rates led to mid-market maybe not being the flavor of the investor's eye, at that time. But things have changed significantly now. And there are various opportunities within that rate stack now that has expanded significantly. And that's why you have, I guess, all these tycoons sitting here next to me. Because, of course, they understand that there is a big gap in the market and every sort of location is different. And mid-markets hotel work brilliantly well. And I think they're here to stay. Everyone's been talking about that all day here today. But the numbers are starting to look very exciting. Especially from, as what you were saying, on a risk-reward basis. Because, we're seeing a lot of supply. We have seen a lot of supply in the upper upscale segments. But it hasn't really picked up too much in the mid-scale, and we're going to see that now. And with the growth of, the demographics of travel, of accessibility, which we're seeing with airports, with road, mid-scale is just poised to absorb that demand.
So great points. The new infrastructure, roads, airports, all these assets are going to lead to a jump up in mid-market. And very interesting that also from a yield compression point of view. Today, mid-market gives better certainty of returns. Quickly jumping on to somebody who represents the biggest franchising global network, Rahul. So typically, hotels have operated on management and franchising. I wanted to get your views. What are your thoughts as you look at driving growth for Wyndham in India? You today have an impressive portfolio. I think 148 odd properties in the total portfolio, 91 trading hotels in the portfolio. And you have also introduced franchising. And I don't know if that's been done too much in the world. So what are your thoughts and how is that rolling out for you?
Thank you very much, Rahul. And good evening, everyone. First, let me start by telling you Wyndham's story. So Wyndham is the largest franchise company in the world. We have close to about 8,500 hotels with close to about 8.5 lakhs rooms. And the company which is expanding and growing every day. We replicate the same in India now. We are sub 8 years old in this country. We have grown really fast. Unlike the other international brands, we actually penetrated in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and we became the aspirational brand in those parts of the world. People saw us. We were committed, in terms of a distribution set point. We were able to kind of not only give them the global distribution platform, but we also kind of realized that, in this part of the world, 85% of your business is domestic. So we localized our offerings in terms of offering a national sales setup for the India market. And I'm proud to say that people saw returns in what we were offering them. This was not something which we have done in other parts of the world, so it was very India-focused. It was very India-centric in terms of, in at what Indians want. And that has really helped us to grow. So today we are about 91 hotels, sprinting towards 100. So, in a very happy and in a very comfortable situation at this point of time with 9 brands in India.
And how has franchising been for you?
So, franchising is actually a word which is derived from franchise and manage. So, why we fall in between, though we do franchise contracts, but the expectations from us are, in terms of top line, bottom line, in terms of everyday sales, forecasting. So keeping all these aspects, the word franchising came, We also do audits twice a year. We do business review meetings 3 times a year, which is as good as any managed company. So, that's what the definition for us is in terms of manage. We actually hold our owners or franchisee operators' hands, and kind of help them, support them, and work with them as well.
Thank you. Because India has so many first-time owners, so this very intensive model of holding hands and also doing, regular audits to support them, this is a good layer that you've shared with us. Now I want to jump on to somebody who's a good friend, and he's had a very interesting career trajectory. He started off being in pure sciences, so he was studying at IIT and then he became a McKinsey consultant, and lo and behold, he was suddenly doing hotels. So Sidharth Gupta founded Treebo Hotels, and it's been a decade plus, and today the portfolio is 770 hotels across India. And if I remember right, 710 trading hotels. Which is brilliant. And when I see what Sid and Treebo is doing, it's also contextual to what's happening in India. We've had 6 listings over the last 2 years and 9 more are waiting in the wings. And what you've done, Sid, also recently, your partnership with Accor and previously also with Radisson. Can you share with us your thoughts? How are you seeing the contours of the market evolve from your standpoint?
So I think what is playing out is something very interesting, and I'll try and keep it super brief. And I have some, partners in crime in doing this on this panel itself. I think one very interesting trend that has played out in mid-market hospitality, which we have been a beneficiary of in the last 2.5, 3 years, is that all the big international hotel companies have now realized the potential of mid-market in India. All these companies were earlier focused on upscale and luxury, but now obviously everyone sees the potential in mid-market hospitality. And because most of these companies had their India offices or Indian teams geared towards the upscale and luxury segments, they started to look to do mid-scale through some local partners who would be able to operate with not just deeper market knowledge, but also much leaner cost structures compared to what they are accustomed to. And I think it's very interesting that in the last 3 years, there has been such a spate of such partnerships. We are not the only ones. It feels good to obviously look back when we did our first such partnership with Radisson. And at that time, Zubin was there, and we stitched together this almost a first of its kind master franchise relationship, at least in recent years, for the brand Park Inn and Suites by Radisson, for which we got the license to kind of grow that brand in India. Radisson created this very interesting brand for the mid-market segment. But ever since that, there have been several of these, right? So we, of course, did a partnership with Accor, which is now a big partnership for us for Mercure and Ibis. We have seen Hilton do something similar with Olive for Spark by Hilton. We have seen Hilton and Radisson, and in fact, Wyndham also do similar partnerships with Nile for their respective mid-market brands, Hampton, Microtel, and Park Inn and Suites again. And now, of course, our friend Anant here has done this fantastic partnership with IHCL, where Clarks will obviously grow further in mid-market. Best Western has done something with Sorel as well. So there are so many examples now where international brands are partnering with local players, and I think that makes a ton of sense, opens the doors for many of us to be beneficiaries of that trend.
Brilliant. So international players co-opting and working with local players who have greater market knowledge and greater agility to shape and bring much more inventory to the market. And you also spoke of great cost structures, great margins, and actually the gentleman on the extreme right represents that ethos. So Vishvapreet, leading Lemon Tree now, about 14,000 crore of market cap today, a portfolio of about 216 hotels with 126 trading properties. And Lemon Tree has a very unique ratios framework spanning real estate, also capex and opex efficiencies, which saw Lemon Tree yield a 49.4% EBITDA margin last year, and quite impressive. So Vishvapreet, can you walk us through a few of these distinct ratios and how does that play out in the business?
He wants us to tell you the secret of Lemon Tree Hotels, which he was actually part of when Lemon Tree got established. Listen, out of the 216 hotels, 116 that are operating, 41 we own and lease. All right? So from an owner's perspective, we understand the pain of doing business and making sure that there is profitability that comes through, right? So you mentioned the fact that there are ratios that sort of apply, or how do we bring in efficiencies in our structure. So we are extremely efficient when it comes to making sure that we control the costs as per square foot in the hotel, right? Let me give you a perspective of when we build hotels. We want to build a hotel in such a manner that 75% of the space that is there gets built for rooms. Now, why for rooms? Because maximum profitability comes from rooms, right? Whilst we do have restaurants, we do have small laundries or small kitchenettes, but we don't get into a very heavy
public spaces. We want to minimize on that, and we want to maximize on rooms. Now, from a revenue perspective, that flows through. Now, how do we want to make sure that we have ratio to room in terms of cost effectiveness? So manpower, for example, we don't want to exceed more than 0.7 to a room. With regards to electricity or water flow, we look at the load factors and we define that per room. We want to make sure that there is no wastage, right? So we drill down to what is a particular room consumption of water, for example, or particular room consumption of electricity. We don't go into central HVAC units. We have VRVs, for example, right? So we control the flow of energy getting used. And in turn, we also look at environment, right? Furthermore, we also want to be very clear that if, as an illustration, if there is 100 rupees getting earned, out of the 100 rupees, 50 rupees comes down as EBITDA. That's what you said, that we were at 49.4% for last year, which means that the fixed cost and variable cost has to be in the range of the rest of the 50 rupees. Further slicing and dicing it, we would want the fixed cost to be anything between 23 to 24 rupees, and rest is variability, right? Hence, we achieve the numbers that we do. And that is what translates to even managed properties. We work with the owners. We want the owners to understand how we bring efficiency into the system and eventually deliver the EBITDA that they are looking for, because they have taken probably debt to build that hotel. Some of the hotels are not big boxes. Some of the hotels that we are managing are 50 keys, 100 or 60 keys, 80 keys, but in tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4 markets. So how do we make sure that we want to bring in efficiency? And these are the models that we use. And we obviously lay it down to the owners because we've done it ourselves. And we've actually mastered it. Right? Thank you.
Thank you, Vishvapreet. So great illustration of this business of hospitality, which is typically seen as a business of intangibles. How do you tangibilize the intangibles? So the ratio framework, starting from real estate, saying maximize the throughput on rooms. And similarly, when you look at capex or you look at operating ratios, so Vishvapreet alluded to 0.7 per key, which is remarkable, given the fact that effectively it's a full service product, and also great learnings on benchmarking energy usage and holding a target to say we need to deliver 50% EBITDA. So great template. Thank you. Now moving on to another dear friend who have been recent entrants relatively in the sector. Though Ascott has 1,000 trading hotels globally, the India portfolio today is 22 properties in India. So I want to ask Arpit, what we also see is globally, Ascott's a service apartment player, but in India it's also morphing now into hotels. So how is that strategy playing out? And what's your aspiration for growth, and how are you putting it in action?
Am I audible? Yeah, okay. Thank you, Rahul, and appreciate everybody being patient between us and the drinks. Yes, we are young in India, though last year we celebrated 40th anniversary as far as being in the industry. We have 7 operational assets, another 15 under development, about 6,000 odd units. And yes, we do pride ourselves in being accommodation solution providers. We are traditionally known to be leaders in service residences, but the brand sort of has evolved into doing hotels, flex hybrid models where we can bring in a product which could have a mix of service residences and hotel rooms. And it is also developing into newer concepts. We've just launched a brand called Life, which is now into the upscale, experience-led social living space, which is basically Gen Z, millennial, community interactive sessions. So this basically allows us flexibility, Rahul, and we are very excited about the India market because our product offerings are available from upper mid-scale to the luxury level. We have 5 global brands which could be traditionally called the hard brands, and we have 2 independent soft brands which could target unique independent hotels. We are looking at the mid-market and the mid-scale also. We sort of use a very nice combination of it because let's say a city could also give you an opportunity to have a mid-scale hotel, and a mid-scale tier 2 city could also in certain cases give you opportunity to bring a upscale hotel like some areas of Himalayas, let's say in the backwaters or the tourist places. So we do closely work with owners. We understand what they need. Our flex hybrid model allows our architecture and design team to work closely and give them those opportunities. So a hotel could come in a city center which may need a lot of F&B and banqueting. That can be provided. Or you may be in the outskirts where, let's say, there is an industrial park or an SEZ and it is more accommodation driven, so you need a studio and a 1-bedroom because people would come for project, lesser F&B. All that is possible with us. So with all of that, there is a huge excitement from the company's point of view towards India. And we look forward to hopefully having about 6,000 odd units in the next 4 to 5 years.
Well, that's a good aspiration to scale up rapidly to 6,000 units. And somebody who's already scaling up like this in the middle, Anant, I think the trading portfolio today is 171 properties. And recently, you've also done a remarkable partnership with IHCL. So can you walk us through this partnership? How is it structured? And what does it mean for your growth? And what does it mean for IHCL?
I would firstly like to correct the previous panel. Hospitality in this country was built by, like I always say, that we are mere mortals sitting on this panel. Babu Brishpal Das ji and J.R.D. Tata were not. They were the people who built hospitality when this country was going through civil strife and partition all the way back in 1947. The first 5-star hotel in Varanasi was built by Babu Brishpal Das ji, the first 5-star in Agra, the first 5-star in Lucknow, the first 5-star in Jaipur. And conversely, the first 5-star of India was built in Bombay by J.R.D. Tata. This partnership is a partnership of hospitality with veterans who have experience of over 2 centuries. Right? Between the two, we were the #1 fastest, which is IHCL, our partner, and us, #5. So between the two, we signed over 110 hotels last year, and I think the pace is only going to accelerate further. To answer your question, that what does it do for them? IHCL has a stated vision of reaching 700 hotels by 2030. So it adds to that scale. It adds to the scale of Ginger hotels, because most of our hotels will be rebranded into Ginger hotels. Conversely, what does it do for the family? Clarks was always a premium upper upscale brand. It helps us scale the Clarks brand as a premium upper upscale 5-star brand across India within the IHCL ecosystem. It helps us get distribution, it helps us get loyalty. For IHCL, it also helps them get the management bandwidth of tier 2 and tier 3 cities where we are predominantly present. And I couldn't be more grateful to the IHCL team and Mr. Chatwal for making this happen.
This is brilliant. The second generation borrowing from the first and making the legacy stronger, and a great symbiotic partnership which helps both the brands grow faster. Now, I wanted to ask Jehangir, you've seen, markets typically be in management and franchise. But you spoke of, when we were chatting earlier, 100 deals just over the last 2 years. So other than management and franchise, what other operating models are you seeing in the market? And also, are you seeing any interesting, innovative financial structures? If you could just quickly take us through that.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, of course, management and franchises, as all these people on the panel would tell you, it's bread and butter. And it's picking up, growing. But what we're seeing, which is very interesting also, that a lot of them are also putting their sort of money where their mouth is, and they are saying that we will invest a certain structured finance component into gaining those contracts, mostly through the revenue share model. So that gives the owners a lot of confidence in the brand that they actually, there's a buy-in, which a lot of the owners are looking at, saying, what's the buy-in for me here? They're just signing a contract and servicing. So this gives owners a good sort of trust in the brand that they will execute, they will perform, their money is also at stake. And I think it's a good way for them to get into this market also, especially conversion properties, where people are, so we have just to give you an example, we had a client in this city, small hotel, 80, 90 rooms, but it was being run by themselves. Brand took it over, gave them some money to refurbish, and they do almost 2 times the amount of money that they were doing earlier into their pockets. And they were doing very well earlier. So that sort of leap of faith from the brand, I think, also makes a big, it's a big help to the owners.
Brilliant. So the model is evolving from saying, put skin in the game to demonstrate greater trust, and congratulations, you helped the client do 2x of revenues. So
yeah, he's building another hotel, the same model as we speak.
Oh, lovely. So you effectively got a customer, a client for life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So moving on, Rahul, typically when we see big franchising and distribution setups, they focus on RevPAR as the metric, while most people would be looking at GOPARs. And as an asset owner, the asset owners are looking at returns per square foot. So how do you marry all these expectations when you operate? And how do you respond to these asks? Because also if you see F&B is critical and all these components, but being a franchisee player, do you deliver returns per square foot?
First, I want to tell you that mid-market is actually a sweet spot. You take advantage of upscale from an ADR standpoint, and you take occupancy advantage from an economy standpoint. And that's how your mid-market is actually running. And that's why it's one of the reasons it really grows very fast. So technically, the question comes that you want to maximize or you want to optimize. The more rational question would be you optimize. See, today's traveler is an extremely extensive traveler who's traveled well, who exactly knows, what he wants, what his expectations are. So it's time that we start, we don't kind of push the metrics in terms of RevPAR. How much can you push occupancy and how much can you push ADR? There's a certain limit to that stretch. So I think the more rational answer to this would be start looking at RevPAX, revenue per available guest. I think it's extremely important that, we sync all these departments. We kind of now, move our whole standpoint to all the department. And it's not only that the rooms department or the kind of revenue departments only focusing on the rooms aspect. I think it's important to focus on F&B. It's important to focus on ancillary revenues. And the whole mindset should revolve around per revenue packs. And I think that's the, so, we actually take it helps our stakeholders because, it also helps the operators as well because, our fees is on the revenue, on the total revenue.
So good philosophical new underpinning to the entire model. And I like it, moving from RevPAR to revenue per available customer. Brilliant. So I want to go to Sid and ask you, technology has been your and Treebo's calling card. And recently, you've also hived off your hotel tech business into a software as a service available to others. So whether it is CRS, PMS, POS, accounting, even a channel manager. So what's your view on tech and this sort of an offering? And do you see tech being a disruptor then in this space, or is it going to be supporting the growth of mid-market?
I think both. It's the same technology we use for ourselves as what we are now offering to the industry as well. In general, to make an economy and a mid-market segment P&L work, one big philosophy we work with is centralize and digitize. Do fewer and fewer things at the hotel, take away most of the activities at a corporate level, and of course, charge suitably for it. So, for example, in our economy, I mean, we have figured out a way of making money from small hotels as well. You know, when Jehangir says it was a small 90-room hotel, my eyes are popping up because for me, 90-room is large. Anyway, you know, in a typical 50, 60-room hotel, we would not have, you know, department supervisors necessarily for all departments. We would not have a finance person. We would not have an HR person. We would not have a revenue manager, because most of these activities are centralized at the corporate level. And now that's easier said than done, because, you know, unless you have the right technology for these people to operate in a shared services setup, you can't really, you know, do that centralization. So it's the same tech we use. And the idea is to do fewer and fewer things at the hotel itself.
Brilliant. So my takeaway is centralize and digitize. CD. That's how I'm going to remember your mantra. Thank you. So you spoke of tech delivering a big arbitrage using centralize and digitize. And but while we do that, it's critical for us to be servicing our customers with people. So talent is a very big cause of concern in the industry. So there is a war for talent. So I wanted to ask you, Vishvapreet, as you expand across the country, what is Lemon Tree doing to attract and retain talent?
So yes, talent obviously is a concern across all industries. It's not just hospitality. Yeah? But having said that, we go to places where generally most of the hotels don't go to for hiring. That's our mantra, right? So we go to Cat B, Cat C, and Cat D cities. We go to the hotel management schools or universities or colleges over there, and we hire from there. Second mantra of ours is we don't get people in the mid-management sector from outside. So we grow from within, right? So we hire talent, then we train the talent. So we have a subsidiary of our own, which is Mind Leaders. So they have these training centers all across India. And they train these young, budding hoteliers to understand what they need to do, the basics. That building block then gets elevated to further making sure that guest experiences are met or trained. And then they grow within with the specific ladder of training. Furthermore, we've got this hypo identification system. So out of the set of people that we hire, we then look at all those key individuals who are good in their work, and we make sure that we accelerate their growth within the organization and make them general managers or hotel GMs through training, of course. And they then go to newer hotels of ours, whether managed or owned, and then they work there. So net, our aim is to make sure that we grow from within. Another third element of ours, and very important, we look at opportunity-deprived individuals in our organization. 16% of our workforce is ODIs. So people who are school dropouts, people who are speech and hearing impaired, people who are Down syndrome affected, we hire them and we train them,
Let's celebrate this.
That's founder's vision.
Thank you.
Also. Yeah. So that's how.
So great takeaways. So Lemon Tree is actually expanded the net horizontally by going to places where others don't go, and also by providing opportunities to people who may otherwise have been opportunity deprived. And I actually see it as a Star Trek moment. You know, as Captain James T. Kirk would say, going where no man has gone before. And also the focus on recruiting and promoting from within. Even though it shows time up, but we had 45 minutes, and I realized because people want to reduce the break between drinks at times being cut. But I want to quickly ask one last question to Anant. As you expand across the country, Anant, you have insights from the ground, which typically get ignored, in other setups. What is it? What are your insights as you've been leading growth and driving this velocity? What is it that you know about mid-market, which is typically not surfaced, that people typically don't realize?
I don't think I know much more than any of you know, but one insight which we have seen is that F&B forms a much larger component in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So it's not going to be a 200, 300 room-driven hotel if you have to really grow in that sector. And other than that, I think that from a accommodation perspective, means the staff facilities really matter in keeping your PTER low. So that is another insight which we've had, and of course we run our own training school as well. Yeah.
Great. So the way to the customer is through the stomach. Okay.
Correct.
So that holds true for mid-market, and that's something, it's a good nudge for even people who are thinking mid-market to realize the criticality of F&B.
I heard you made a SOP for the ponytail. Vishvapreet doesn't have one.
That's right. I would have wanted to chat longer, but I want to thank all the panelists. Great insights and a good discussion. And thank you everybody in the audience for being so patient. Much appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.